Welcome to Eureka Math. This is Module 1, Lesson 4, and we are continuing our journey with exponents, right? We've been learning about exponents this week. Our objective is to use exponents to denote powers of 10 with application to metric conversions. Okay, so let's break this down. So we're going to use exponents. Remember, exponents are those small little numbers that we've been using on top of the tens, okay? And that just means that what we're doing is we're taking this number and we're shrinking it down, okay? Because what it really means, 10 to the power of 4, means 10 times 10 times 10 times 10. There's 4 tens here, right? So it's a lot shorter to just write 10 to the 4th instead of, say, 10,000, okay? So this has a lot of uses, especially if we're using big, giant numbers, okay? Let me give you another example. Let's say 10 to the 6th, right? It's a lot faster to say 10 to the power of 6 than it is to say 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10. Even my hand is getting tired, right? So instead of saying 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10, we're just saying 10 to the power of 6, which is 1 and 6 zeros, right? Okay, there we go, that's a million. Okay, so that's what an exponent is. And powers of 10, these are powers of 10 showing how many times we're multiplying by 10. And we're going to use that tool, what we've just learned how to do in the last couple days, and we're going to use it to convert measurements. Now we're going to use the metric scale because metric units use the powers of 10. This is why metric conversions are so much easier than inches to feet, feet to yards, yards to miles, right? Metric uses the power of 10. Okay, so what do I want to show you? I want to show you one more thing on this page before we go to the problem set. This is a meter strip, all right? And what I'm showing you, I'm sorry, it's not a meter strip, it's a template. What I'm showing you is how, just like in our numbers and our place value, we can use this to find metric units. So 1 meter is 1, okay? 1 meter, 10 meters, 100 meters, 1,000 meters, a tenth of a meter, a hundredth of a meter, and a thousandth of a meter, okay? So ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, 1/10, 1/100th, and 1,000th, okay? Just like in our place value chart that we've been using. But these have different names, okay? So 1 meter is 1 meter. But 10 meters is called a decameter. And 100 meters is called a hectometer. And 1,000 meters is called a kilometer. And I know that you've heard kilometer before, okay? When we were talking about how many kilometers we live from school, okay? 1/10 of a meter is called a decimeter. And 1/100th of a meter is called a centimeter. Now you've probably heard centimeter too, and we always abbreviate it with cm. And a meter we always abbreviate with m. And kilometer we always abbreviate km. And a millimeter, that's the 1,000th of a meter, is a mm, okay? So you've heard these before. Maybe you haven't heard hectometer or decameter or decimeter, but you've definitely heard centimeter. You've probably heard millimeter. I know that you know what a meter is, especially now that we've been talking about staying a meter away from each other or 2 meters away from each other because of COVID. And a kilometer is 1,000 of those meters, okay? So this is my nice little place value chart, and I'm showing you how the metric system works on that same chart, okay? These numbers go with something else, but okay, let's go over to our problem set. And that's the homework. Sorry, let me roll up. there's our problem set, and all we have here, just take a quick glance. I see meters, centimeters, centimeters, meters, meters, centimeters, centimeters, meters, meters, centimeters, centimeters, meters. Perfect. This is an easy one because 1 meter equals 100 centimeters, and 1 centimeter equals 1/100th of a meter. How do we find that? Well, that's easy. We can just have, if we have 1 meter, we can multiply it by 100, and that's going to give us how many centimeters we're finding. And if we have 1 centimeter, we can divide by 100, and that will give us how many meters we have, okay? Remember, multiplication and division are opposites. All right, so here we go. If I don't want to write 100, what can I write? 100 is just 10 times 10, right? So we can also call that 10 squared, or 10 to the power of 2. So I'm actually going to erase this and erase this, and instead of putting divide by 100, I'm going to put divide by 10 squared and multiply by 10 squared. So this is the formula to convert 1 meter to a centimeter and 1 centimeter to meters, okay? You will be using these your entire life, I promise. Okay, when somebody asks you how tall you are, what are you going to say? I like to say that I'm 1.7 meters, but the truth is I'm actually probably closer to 168 centimeters. Okay, so see if you can figure that out. All right, make sure you have your name on your paper. And let's start right away. Convert and write an equation, okay? An equation, sometimes we call them number sentences, okay? We're going to write number sentences or equations with an exponent. So if it has to have an exponent in it, it's probably going to be 10 squared because we're using centimeters and meters, but it could be 10 to the third, 10 to the fourth. I don't think so. I think we're going to stick with 10 squared, okay? So let's do number 1. It's already done for us, but we're going to go through it. 3 meters to centimeters. So what did I say? If I have the equation here, 1 meter times 10 squared equals 100 centimeters, right? And 1 centimeter divided by 10 squared equals 1/100th of a meter, right? Right, 1/100th, 1/100th. We can write decimals and fractions the same way, right? This is 1/100th, and this is 1/100th. All right. Fractions and decimals, we'll get more into that this year too. They're throwing a lot at you today, so woo, we might have to go back and do some review, but that's okay. All right. So if I have 3 meters, right here, 3 meters equals 300 centimeters. I know that 3 times 10 squared equals 300, right? So what did I do? I just put 3 in here and 3 in there. So let's try the next one. 105 centimeters to meters. Now I said if we're converting centimeters to meters, we need to use divide by. So we're going to divide by 10 squared. And I have 105 centimeters, so 105 divided by 10 squared, or divided by 100. If you need to use your place value chart to figure that out, you can. I'll just make a quick one here. So I've got 105, and I'm dividing it. So let's see. There's my decimal point. Let me change colors. So there's 105, and I'm dividing it by 100, so that means I need to move it over 2 spaces. So there's my decimal, and I'm going to move it here, and here, and here. Remember, dividing goes this direction. So I've got 5, 0, 1, and my new answer is 1 5/100ths. Was I using that color? No, that seems a little this color. 1 5/100ths. Okay, meters. Don't forget your labels. I'm a little upset they didn't put a label there. Okay, let's try the next one. 1 68/100ths of a meter to centimeters. So I have 1 68/100ths of a meter. Well, that one's pretty easy. That one is 1 68/100ths, but now I'm changing meters to centimeters. So what is it up here? Meters to centimeters. That means I'm going to multiply by 10 squared, and it's just the opposite. If you still need the place value chart, please use one. I'm not going to use one. I'm just going to move that decimal point over 2 spaces. 1, 2. And my answer is going to be 168. Okay, and my answer here is 168. And my answer here was 1 500ths. Okay, 80 centimeters to meters. So centimeters to meters, that means that I'm dividing by 10 squared. So I've got 80 divided by 10 squared equals, okay, so divide by, that means what? What direction, right? That means that my decimal is going to go this way, 1, 2. So now I've got 8 meters, okay? No, point, I'm sorry. 8/10ths of a meter. 8/10ths of a meter. And if you want to put that extra 0 on there because it makes more sense to you, right, you can. But, in fact, we don't need it. All right? Do you need help with that? Get out your place value chart if you're not understanding what we did there. We took 80 and we divided by 100, or 10 squared. And so we moved over that decimal point 2 spaces. 9 2/10ths of a meter. And we're moving meters to centimeters. So meters to centimeters up here. Meters to centimeters is multiplying. 9.2 times 10 squared equals what? I'm going to move that decimal point 1, 2, and my new answer is 920 centimeters. 4 centimeters, oh, that's little. 4 centimeters to meters, so centimeters to meters, that means I'm going to divide. And if you see the pattern already here, if you just put a 4 in there instead, you would know that the answer is 400ths, right? So 4 centimeters divided by 10 squared equals 0.4 meters, or 400ths of a meter. Okay. In the space listed below, list the letters of the problems where larger units were converted to smaller units. Okay, so meters is a larger unit, so we converted larger units to smaller units when we went from meters to centimeters. So let's find A, C, and E all convert meters to centimeters, okay? And I will show you a giant meter stick I have in the classroom. That giant meter stick, and you have one in your book, I believe, as well, has inside of it 100, and I'm not counting correctly, 100 centimeters, okay? So centimeters are smaller than meters. And a decimeter would be 10, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 meters. There's a decimeter. And then this whole thing would be the meter, right? Okay, convert using an equation with an exponent. Use your meter strip when it helps you. Okay, now we've got meters to millimeters. I'm going to erase all this so I have a little space actually to work because I want to show you some equations before we get started. All right, some formulas to help you. If I have 1 meter, that equals 1,000 millimeters. Remember, 1 meter equals 1/1,000th, right, of a meter, right? So millimeters right there. That means that in order to convert from back and forth, if we're changing meters to millimeters, we have to multiply by 1,000. But I'm not going to write 1,000, am I? Instead, I'm going to write 10 cubed. Okay, so 1 meter times 10 cubed equals 1,000 millimeters. And 1 millimeter divided by 10 cubed equals, let's see, I have to move that decimal over 3 times, right? So 1, 2, 3 equals 1/1,000 of a meter. Okay, so those two equations right there, super important for converting meters to millimeters and millimeters to meters. So let's see, use your meter strip when it helps you. So if you have your meter strip out, you can cut it out and tape it together. Or if you have a meter, an actual meter stick, that's even better. 3 meters equals how many millimeters? So we're going to take 3 meters. I'm going to multiply that by 10 to the third, or 10 cubed. And what we get is 3,000 millimeters, okay? Are you with me? I used this formula, and instead of 1 meter, I put the 3 meters that they gave me. So now I have 1.2 meters, so I'm going to use the same formula, and I'm going to say 1.2 meters, 1.2 times 10 cubed equals 1,200 millimeters. Now you're going to tell me, but there's 3 zeros here and you only put 2 zeros here. Yes, but there's a decimal. So I had to move the decimal once, and then I had to add 2 more zeros to move the decimal 3 spaces. Okay, so 1,200. Now, 1,020 millimeters, 2 meters. 1,020. Be careful, these are commas, and this is a decimal point. Don't confuse them, especially in English, okay? So now I'm going to take my 1,020 millimeters, and now I have a millimeter and I want to convert it to a meter, so I'm going to divide by 10 cubed, which equals, what are we going to get here? 1, 2, 3, which equals 1 2/2 of a meter. Okay. Do you see how I did that? I just moved that decimal point over how many spaces? 3 spaces. So I went from here to 1, 2, 3. Next one, 97 millimeters. 97 millimeters, and I want to change it to meters, so I'm going to use the same formula. I'm going to divide by 10 cubed, and I'm going to move it over 3 spaces, 1, 2, but there isn't one there, so I need another. Okay? And my answer now is 97 thousandths of a meter. Just double check my work here. Yes. Yep. Okay. 0.97. Okay. 7 and 28 hundredths of a meter. 7 and 28 hundredths of a meter. And I want to convert that meter to millimeters, so I'm going to multiply by 10 cubed. Multiplying just always seems a little bit easier to me. So I'm going to move that decimal over 3 spaces, 1, 2, and I'm going to add a 0, 7, 2, 8, 0. And what is my new unit? Millimeters, right? So 7,280 millimeters. Good. Last one. 4 millimeters, 2 meters. Don't get confused just because this number is small. 4, we're still going from a small unit to a bigger unit. So we're going to divide by 10 cubed. And that means I have to move that decimal point over 3 spaces, but there aren't 3 spaces, so I'm going to have to add zeros. So 1, 2, 3. That means I have to add 2 zeros in front of that, okay? All right. Now I have 4 thousandths of a meter. So this big, smaller than my fingernail. All right. In the space below, list the letters of the problems where smaller units were converted to larger units. So we're going to go through and we're going to look for any one where we converted millimeters to meters. That's C, D, and F. C, D, and F. Okay. All right. Next one. Read each aloud as you write the equivalent measures. Okay, write an equation with an exponent you might use to convert. Okay. So here we've got meters to millimeters. So they've done this for us. 3.512 thousandths of a meter times 10 cubed is 3,512 millimeters. All right, now I've got 8 centimeters, and I want to change it to meters, right? So remember, smaller unit to bigger unit means that I need to divide, and centimeters to meters is 10 squared. So my new answer is, let's see, 8/10 of a meter. Okay, next one, 42 millimeters to meters. So 42, and I'm going from a smaller unit to a bigger unit, so that means I need to divide. And I'm going millimeters to meters, that means I need to divide by 10 to the third, or 10 cubed. And that means my new answer is 1, 2, 3 is 42 thousandths of a meter. Next one, read each one aloud. I'm reading all of them aloud. You should read them out loud too, so you can practice saying these words. Meters to millimeters. Okay, now I'm going from a bigger unit to a smaller unit, so all I have to do is multiply. So I have 5/10 of a meter, and I want to change it to millimeters, so that's 10 cubed. Okay, so now I get to change my decimal point going this way, so I can go 1, 2, 3, and my new answer is 50. Okay, 50, is that right? 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's right. Okay. Sometimes I doubt myself. Okay. Next one, meters to centimeters. So we're going from a bigger unit to a smaller unit. That means I'm going to multiply, right? Because it's a bigger unit to a smaller unit, so I'm going to multiply. And it's meters to centimeters, so I'm multiplying 10 squared. And that means 1, 2. My new answer is 0.2 centimeters. Great. All right. The length of the bar for a high jump competition must always be 4 75/100ths of a meter. Express this measurement in millimeters. Okay, so we've got meters, 4.75 millimeters, and we want to make it into meters, and we want to make it into millimeters, which is a big unit to a small unit. That means that we are going to multiply, and it's meters to millimeters, so we're going to multiply by 10 cubed. And our new answer is 4,750 millimeters. Cool. The length of the bar for a high jump competition must always be 4 meters and 75 centimeters, right? Express this measurement in millimeters. Explain your thinking. Include an equation with an exponent in your explanation. Great, we did it. Number 5, a honeybee, right, tiny, its length measures 1 centimeter. 1 centimeter. Express this measurement in meters. So we've got 1 centimeter. Express this measurement in meters. That means we're going from a small unit to a big unit, which means we need to divide. Centimeters to meters, that's 10 squared, okay? And our new answer would be 1/100th of a meter. Okay. Yep, this big. Explain, number 6, explain why converting from meters to centimeters uses a different exponent than converting from meters to millimeters. Well, we can do that with a chart, so let's do that. Okay, so here's my place value chart. And I'm going to call this 1 meter. Oops. 1 meter. And I'm going to call this 1 centimeter. Or 1/100th of a meter. And this is 1/1000th of a meter. And this is 1/10 of a meter. And this is 10 meters. Okay. And I could keep going. 100 meters. And 1,000 meters. What did we call that? We call that a kilometer, right? So 1,000 meters is a kilometer. 1 meter is just a meter. 1/100th of a meter is a centimeter. And 1/1000th of a meter is millimeter. Millimeter. And you can hear it in the word, right? Centi, cent, right? That prefix means 100. And milli, mil, you already know that one. Milli, mil, means 1,000. And kilo means 1,000 as well. It's just a different, right? Kilometer. Okay. So 1/100th, 1/1000th, and 1 meter. Okay, so explain why converting from meters to centimeters uses a different exponent than converting from meters to millimeters. So if I'm converting from meters to centimeters, how many spaces am I going? 1, 2. So that's 10 times 10, or 10 squared. If I'm converting from meters to millimeters, that's 10 times 10 times 10, or 10 cubed. Okay. I think a place value chart helped there a little bit. And that's all I have for you. Thank you for paying attention. And you know you can pause and go back and reread as many times as you want, or listen to me talk to you over and over and over again. Thank you. Have a great day.